Welcome to the Yoga Nation, the Spirit of Gratitude podcast on the One Integration platform. Hello, friends. My name is Yogesh Patel, and this podcast focuses on bullying, self awareness, and our inner spirit, inviting high profile guests to share their experiences on these topics. And today, my next guest is Jeff Fink, an Austin based community leader with the Mankind Project, a global nonprofit that helps men break past their limits and step into their true potential to help them become better fathers, friends, and leaders. And on a personal level, overcoming adversity, Jeff has had a very successful career in technology sales after dropping out of college, and at one point weighed 300 pounds in his 5'7" frame. Quite the transformation. Well, with gratitude, welcome to the podcast, Jeff.
Thanks for having me, Yogi. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. Well, I'm curious, could you help describe more about what the Mankind Project really is and how'd you get involved?
Yeah, the Mankind Project started in the mid 1980s by three men. They were inspired by, and it was in a response to a lot of the women's movement going on, and women having spaces to grow their emotional maturity and connect and have community and empower each other. And so these three men, they wanted to form something similar for men. So they started it then, and it's grown to over 80,000 men today globally that are part of it. And I got involved through doing what's their main flagship training that they call the New Warrior Training Adventure, and I did that about 10 years ago in 2015.
Seemed to be quite a transformation.
Absolutely. So when these three men were putting it together, they were studying a lot of Carl Jung psychology about what's called shadow work. They were also looking into Robert Moore's books about what are male archetypes, king, warrior, magician, lover. And they were also looking at Joseph Campbell, who's a philosopher, if you know about him, about the hero's journey. And so the New Warrior Training is really an opportunity for men to go through their hero's journey. And I definitely experienced that and experienced a transformation from my New Warrior Training adventure.
So is it going a change in thumping your chest and to being vulnerable? I mean, how does that, curious what your take is on that?
Yeah. Yeah, I invite anyone who's curious. They could always reach out to me separately and learn more about it. And I invite you to step off the edge too, and maybe do the New Warrior Training Adventure. It's definitely an experiential. It's not like a training or a workshop or like a retreat. It's definitely an experiential experience for a weekend. And for me, it was really looking at the belief system I had and the actions and behaviors that were resulted from that belief system. And some of those beliefs were positive, some self defeating, and with the support of other men, breaking through those and finding belief systems that empowered me to create the world I want to see, and the world I want to see for myself, the people around me, and the greater world, everyone I interact with.
Could you not do this at a local bar or at a sporting event? Because maybe I'm playing being a little bit naive when I ask this question, but it seems as though it's more or less a bonding experience where men show their vulnerabilities. Perhaps they become emotional to help have a support group in a safe space. Is that what the Mankind Project is, or is it something beyond that?
I think it's that and more. It's a space where I can take down all of the masks that I have, all the conditioning I learned from growing up about what I think it means to be a man, um, and really from an authentic space, share the most vulnerable parts of myself and get support to work through those as well, and grow my emotional maturity and my spiritual awareness. So I don't find that in a bar or sporting events. I do find connection and fun at bars and sporting events. Yeah.
Interesting, because for me, I when I first heard about this Mankind Project, I thought in my mind it was about reclaiming a man's masculinity in today's world. And we know the world has, changed quite a bit from even 10 years ago, from even 20 years ago with the social media, certainly talking, describing how, women are getting a seat at the table. Does that ever conflict with what perhaps um, the Mankind Project is in reference to, um, working with people from all over?
Yeah, I think we're staring in the face of, what's referred to in modern culture as toxic masculinity. This power over, this anti femininity, dominance, toughness. Like what, I can't be vulnerable or cry to be a man. I got to be powerful and tough to be a man. We're staring in the face of that and asking men, and for me, asking myself, what does it really look for me to show up as a man, and looking at, rooting in values like authenticity, integrity, being a man of my word, um, owning my emotions, and having an emotional maturity to where I'm not acting out from those emotions, but I'm actually containing them when they need to get contained, and then working through them so that I can come back from a more compassionate space, an authentic space.
What surprised you? Um, Perhaps maybe not from your experience, but from the dealings that you've had with the men that you've trained as a community leader in Austin.
I don't have any kids, and I imagine it might be what a proud father, maybe a proud sibling, experiences. Uh, Getting the trust from someone to go into a vulnerable state, into their emotional space, and then witness them come out with a new sense of purpose in who they are, seeing that growth and getting to witness that's I'm forever grateful for that trust, um, and that's I get surprised by that every single time, and I guess graced by that every single time too.
Yeah, and it looks like this is not a weakness at all in terms of, yeah,
It's a strength.
yeah. I remember what Matthew Earl Jones said on the podcast. He said, "Kindness is the domain of the strong." So it looks like the Mankind Project is one other uh, resource, tool, brotherhood that can help um, men, help them understand their purpose and how they, again, in my introduction, help have them become better fathers, leaders, friends to our communities.
100%.
Yeah, is there a certain age group that this is a part of? Because to me, it also speaks to mentorship.
Yes and no. 18 and above. We actually have a community we call the elder community. So we really honor the elders, and the elders are, I think it starts at 45 and above. And elders more of an energy. It's an energy of wisdom and giving and holding space, um, and blessing and honoring. So that could be an energy in an 18-year-old. That could be an energy in an 80-year-old man, or maybe an 80-year-old man doesn't connect with that. Um, so and I've had mentors that are younger than me. I've had mentors that are older than me, and I'd like to think I've been a mentor for people older than me and younger than me too.
Yeah, wow, sounds like a really honorable organization. Do you ever get any type of pushback from, say, women or others about this? Maybe not, that's the wrong word that I'm trying to use, but I guess how can your organization coexist at an equal level? Is there still some sort of hierarchy when it comes to, uh, you know, members of the opposite sex?
No, no, we have some events that are co-ed, and some family oriented events that we'll put on in the community. Like we're doing a family picnic in March, and uh, the work that we do on the New Warrior Training Adventure. We also hold men's groups locally, and those are anyone that identifies as a male. at some level. And maybe even there's someone that's transitioning and still feels like they're called to it, and we've we hold space for that as well. Uh, so uh, so yeah, and I believe that I show up better for my sisters. I have two sisters. I have a mother, a grandmother that's 96 and still alive. And I think I show up better for the women in my life because of the work that I'm able to do in Mankind Project.
Wow, that's you bring up a very good point about how you show up to your own family and how it's essential that you invite um, mothers, daughters to be a part of this so that they can see the benefits of how a person has or is undergoing positive change within themselves.
Absolutely. My favorite one of my favorite things that we do in the leadership role I'm currently holding is what we call our homecoming. So after a new warrior training weekend, that Thursday after, any man that goes through that weekend, uh, uh, that they come back to Austin. They're from Austin. We hold what we call a homecoming or graduation. So they get to share their story of their before, and then a little bit about their weekend, and then their family members get to come up and talk about in 4 days the difference they've seen. And so the kids will come up, their significant others, sometimes men, sometimes women, will share what they've seen in a short 4 days. And so that I love that because it touches on what you just said, where we can really see how one man at a time spreads out into the world.
And it's an amplifying effect.
100%.
And was part of your joining the Mankind Project anything that was perhaps reminiscence, shrapnel, so to speak, from your childhood?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think at the root of it, it was really about me wanting to find self worth from an internal space and starting to recognize that I had been looking for self worth uh, from other people, from validation, or from achieving things in life. And so that led me. Go ahead.
No, please. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
So yeah, that led me. I was at a point in my life where uh, externally, I had a great job. You mentioned in software technology. I think at the peak, I was making about $300,000. So that's a great thing for someone that never finished college. I had overcome this weight loss. I was close to 300 pounds. I'm now at about 155, and at that time was about the same weight. Uh, and I'd bought a house. I had lived a lot. One job sent me out to Miami. I had traveled all over the Caribbean and Central America and gone to Europe. So, I've lived a life, and I'm just getting ready to get married to my wife, and I still felt like something was missing. And it was this just internal part of me, and this spiritual awareness, this emotional maturity that I needed.
But that's now. I'm curious to find out what gave you that inner drive to lose that weight when you did, from nearly 300 pounds to where you are today. I'm just trying to think what sustained you in your journey, because this gets into the self awareness and the inner spirit.
Yeah, 100%. So I was on a trip. My friend was graduating from near you, University of Arizona. He's in Tucson, and he said, I want to go see Sedona. I want to go see Arches National Park. I want to go to Telluride, and then drive back to Houston or Texas, where we grew up. And I'd never gone out in nature like that. And I was, I took the elevator to the third floor for work. I'd be sweating if I went up 3 stairs of flights, and I was not healthy, eating a lot of fast food. And so I was not equipped for like hiking and camping, but it sounded like so much fun. I wanted to do that with my friend. And so on that trip, I was faced with this adversity of my body not allowing me to experience something that was so joyful and uh, amazing, of just noticing this natural wonder of the world through going to Arches National Park, seeing Sedona, the mountains in Telluride that I think are so majestic. And so it really inspired me to come back and say, and I saw people that were like 70 years old doing these hikes. And I was like, I want to do this as long as they're doing it. And so that gave me the inspiration to come back. And it took me, I mean, right away, 1 year I lost 80 pounds and then kind of worked off the rest of it over the next year. But all I knew was I was going to lose that weight and I was going to experience nature, Mother Nature. My body was going to allow me to do the things I want to do in life, not hold me back.
So that was the one thing that you always had in the back of your mind. It's like, because I experienced such beauty in nature, that it gave you that momentum. You never quit on yourself, um, to help pursue this goal.
100%.
Yeah, because that's something I tend to see in today's adolescents. Again, I've had the opportunity to speak to several high schools and hearing them and what concerns them. Certainly, there's bouts of anxiety, some form of depression, which I know you had, which we can go over in momentarily. But for them, it's issues around body image. It's around this concept of self care, but more importantly, self hurt. Yikes! I mean, I don't think that anyone should hurt themselves, and I know you did as well. Um, so, how can your journey help a young adult, young adolescent, to make to have them perhaps see yourself as a part of them, to give them a little spark or a little motivation, or to help inspire them?
Yeah, I think the first thing is at any point in time in your life, it might seem, when you're younger, you only have a certain lived experience, and the longer I think we live, we I start to see more. And I lost that weight at 25, so that part started. I went through the Mankind Project and started my emotional maturity and spiritual growth at 31. So it's never too late. So hopefully, I'm a beacon of light and hope in that regard. And I was the kid. The reason I got so heavy was because uh, I felt this void and this hurt within me and this pain, and I didn't know how to solve for it. And I thought maybe food would help me escape from it, help me fill it for a little while. So that was really my relationship to food.
Did the external bullying from others, was it less significant than the self hurt that you did?
Yeah, it's hard to compare the two. They both impacted me. I think I self bullied for the most part. I did experience some bullying. I'm Jewish and I went to a Jewish private school in the first for until 5th grade and then another one in sixth. But the 7th grade place was the first place that wasn't a Jewish private school. And I was called names for being Jewish and bullied in that way, as who I am. And so, I felt that sense of rejection and definitely internalized that, and took it inward instead of going outward. So yeah, and I was that kid in the corner that was, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but I went through bouts of depression and anxiety, wanting to kill myself, attempting to do it. And my parents,
For real, you wanted to end your life?
yeah, oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That was the only way that I could rationalize ending the pain that I was feeling inside.
How did you? Who did you turn to for help?
Um, I was quiet. I didn't for a little while. Sometimes my parents, and they would recognize it. They looked for psychiatrists, neurologists, other schools to help fix that. So I ended up going to a different school every year until 12th grade when I graduated high school. They found a therapeutic boarding school in 10th grade that I went to, and I would go to mental hospitals if I was really unsafe for myself, for just an overnight stay. And then they gave me medication for a little while until I was 18.
Knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your younger self?
Yeah, it's gonna be okay. Um, I see the pain you're feeling, and that's unfortunately it's a part of life sometimes. And it's okay to feel pain. And I love you, and I see you, and something greater is awaiting you. It might take a while, but something greater is awaiting you.
Yeah, yeah, that's certainly so important because I think it's a message that I believe that not only kids need to not they know this, they just need to hear leaders such as yourself bring that out so that they're reminded. I always believe that in creating this podcast, all the answers are within ourselves. Whether and you get that stimulus from the environment that you're surrounded with. Whether you are the bullied victim or you are the bullier. Um, I happen to believe that all bullies are not terrible. They're a victim of circumstance. Hurt people. But in your case, it looks like the hurting that you did unto yourself. You didn't do it to hurt others.
Yeah, for sure. And if there was anyone, I mean, I did blame my parents, like maybe like some kids do. Like I held resentment towards them, and I made them the bully figure. It took me a long time to recognize that when I didn't believe in myself, they were the only ones that did. Um, and they took every action they could come up with to figure out what could end my pain and make me a happy, thriving person like I am today. So I'm, that adversity brought me to a space of gratitude for them now, which took a while to work through, but I'm so thankful and grateful for them today.
Was it beyond this just being rebellious, or did you actually have something else in your relationship with your parents? Because I see that as a theme. I mean, I was a rebellious kid growing up. I mean, I didn't listen to all of my parents and their wisdom and advice. I wanted to do things on my own, make my own mistakes, but I owned up to them and I had no regrets. Um, that's just me, right? For the citizens of Yoga Nation, want to know more about me, I'm certainly, I'm equal to sharing, hearing your stories. But I'm curious to find out, Jeff, again, going from you, is it just the resentment or the rebelliousness, or is it both?
I think it's both. Yeah, I think it's both. And I think it's part of just evolving as a human, that we're just all given these obstacles and opportunities that seem like, why did this happen? Sometimes, but it's just what's happening to invite. And this is what I believe now in my knowing state, is it's just inviting me to step into a larger space and step into a bigger version of me. And sometimes the challenge and the pain of that is a lot to bear, and breaking through that just allows me to step into a bigger place. So sometimes that's rebelling. Sometimes that looks like rebelling for me. Sometimes it looks like, oh, let me just follow what they're saying. Like they clearly have the answer. Like let me just follow that. And then learning like, no, I have my own uniqueness to bring to this. Um, and sometimes it's holding on to resentment and then working through that emotionally.
But I would have to also think that, especially with, in my case, and I'm not sure if it's in your case too, but there's a certain maturity level for each generation that your parents, okay, yeah, you bucket them in terms of they don't know any better, they don't know today's world, and I experienced that myself as a father of two daughters. Um, so I'm just curious if there's all part of that as well, which I think, from a kid's perspective, it is justified, in my opinion. It's like my parents don't know this about the world because they see the world in this way, and that perhaps it's their inability to adapt to this new world order. I mean, social media and technology are just prevalent today. It's like breathing in terms of not having internet connectivity.
Yeah, it's tough. I don't have any kids, so I don't have the parent experience. I definitely have the proud mentor.
What I guess what I'm trying to say, Jeff, is that I can understand being justifying being a rebellious kid to a certain degree because you see the world in a different way that they've seen it based on their own upbringing, based on their own experiences, right? Me, I had a different upbringing than them. I had a different set of experiences than them because It's just different. And I'm sure it's the same thing with, today's kids, and how we bridge that together between, generation to generation.
Yeah, I think it's all valid, and having space for all of that to exist. Uh, and and some of the yeah, I think it's all valid. Letting giving our children space to fail and space to succeed in their own way. It doesn't have to be the way that I learned it. It can be in their own way, and I can be there. Maybe I'll learn something from them. Oh, I didn't know you could do it that way. So I think it's just having space for all of it, and then maybe they learn something that I do know, but I don't have to do the whole process of that. Um, and it's different. It is. You're right. Like I didn't have. I think when I called friends growing up, it was like I had to make sure no one else was on the phone, because if I picked up the phone, my sisters might have been on that same like landline, and I didn't have access to like the horrible things that are going on in the world just by picking up something from my pocket. So I think there are a lot of differences in exposure, and to you know the I don't know, I call it the death of my innocence, but I think that that's a little bit louder voice in society than it used to be growing up for me.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. The death of innocence. I think, wasn't your music guy? Didn't Mr. Hurley have that famous song? This is the end of innocence.
I don't recognize the song, so
Well, Jeff, it's certainly been an honor and pleasure having you on the podcast. And I think that your story, your journey about the Mankind Project, but also opening about yourself, I think can certainly help provide a sense of reflection, hopefully an inspiration, um, education, awareness. Hopefully, the citizens of Yoga Nation found something meaningful within Jeff's story that they found entertaining, um, to take back and bring back those answers within, if they're perhaps going through a certain challenge or a certain adversity, whether it is bullying or fighting their own inner demons, which I think speaks a lot to your spiritual growth, eliminating those demons, those bad angels that you have on the shoulder, and amplifying the good angels that you have on the right shoulder. So, Jeff, it's been an honor and pleasure. I wish you the best of luck, and certainly more information about the Mankind Project will be available on social media, along with information on the new warrior training. I'm curious. I don't. You've sparked me to understand what this training looks like, and so we're all learning, we're all growing, and how we can help support each other. So, Jeff, thank you.
yeah, thank you, Yogi. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. All right. Take care. Bye for now.